Are you a fan of Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park, The Office, or Disney and Pixar movies? Or do you just want a sleek, comfortable patterned shirt? Then you need to check out Roosevelts.com. Roosevelt's clothing is the most eye-catching and comfortable clothing available on the market. From button-ups to hoodies, hats, and more, Roosevelt's truly has something for everyone. Check them out today at Roosevelts.com. That is RSVLTS.com. And when you do, make sure to use promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off your order. Made for those with a love of sports, pop culture, and all of the above, this is clothing for the bold and fun for those who dare mighty things. So that's promo code SWOGGLE to save 20% off new, clearance, and restocks at Roosevelts.com.
Hey guys! Once again, another episode of the Going Postl podcast. I'm Dylan, that's George. And guys, before we go any further, I peek behind the curtain. I'm going to intro myself. I'm Dylan Postl, and I feel like absolute dog dirt. I was in the UK for Postl off number one. For the Love of Wrestling convention, Europe's biggest wrestling convention. And the last day, I felt myself feeling a little under the weather towards the end of it. And then all of travel home and all today, I felt like absolute dog dirt. We're pushing through. You know why I can push through? It's because I got a good ride partner. He's my wheelman. He's the best wheelman in the game.
It's up for debate.
This is George. George, hit him with it.
What's going on, guys? How are you? Welcome to today's episode. I'll intro us into what we're talking about today. First of all, this show is brought to you by our friends over at the Roosevelt's brand, RSVLTS.com. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and honestly kick-ass looking shirts, shorts, polos, hats, everything in between. Amazing. Codes will be back up soon. They are reworking their system. And when that's back, you will be able to use code SWOGGLE to save yourself 20% on your order. And today we are talking about all things pre-WWE. So you will hear all of the stories from Dylan before he signed with the WWE, his starts in the wrestling world, the titles that he won.
Track pants, backyard wrestling, cutting myself with a Target razor blade, then getting trained by Ken Anderson, Ken Kennedy. And going forward, this was George just brought up. Guys, this is a throwback episode. I'll hit on it. It's the first one in the office that I recorded in the office, because I remember I talked about that, and I was happy about that. Usually the first two were just at my dining room table. So, yeah. This is going to be fun. 5. Guys, I feel like shit. And I feel so bad, guys. I really feel bad because I should be able. I'm the worst. I think I got sick. I was sick on one other episode. I know. I want to say last year.
It happens, man.
I want to say last year I was sick as hell.
That point last year was we were on a different microphone. Your levels were messed up. You guys will hear it. It's not.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It's
How
old.
bad that's gonna be.
Yeah, the quality of audio is going to very suddenly drop off from how you hear both of us now to then.
Here we go.
Guys, let's talk about Mad Cat Beard Care. They make my beard feel soft, silky smooth, and they can do the same for yours. A one-man show since 2019, Mad Cat uses a portion of their sales to care for local stray cats. That money covers their medical bills and finds them safe spaces and forever homes. Their products are made to order with vitamins and all-natural oils that promote strong, healthy hair and moisturize your skin as well. They've got exclusive scents for myself as well as other wrestlers like my good pal Brian Myers, Mr. Kennedy, and Ring of Honor legend Delirious. Make sure to check out all of their scents, along with my Swoggle scent, which has notes of lavender and sage. I absolutely love this scent. And guys, we've got an exclusive offer for listeners of Going Postl. Use promo code SWOGGLED to save yourself 15% on your orders only at madcatbeardcare.com. That is Swoggled with a D on the end to save yourself 15% on your orders at madcatbeardcare.com. Guys, that's 15% with promo code SWOGGLed, and remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard.
This week's topic, getting started in wrestling and all things pre-WWE. So that means we are talking about everything prior to May 19th, 2006, because that is when you are signed by the WWE. What made you get into wrestling? Where'd you train and who trained you? And for argument's sake, what was your first match and what'd you think of it?
So, lifelong, I say it all the time, lifelong wrestling fan, my whole life, and I always said since I was 4 I was going to do it. Like, and obviously a guy of my stature, it's not going to happen. So, as a teenager, in the Attitude Era, like almost all teenagers in the Attitude Era, I started backyard wrestling because that's the awesome thing to do.
Yeah.
Started backyard wrestling in my buddy's backyard, and it was on tarps, and then we would find mattresses, and we're like, yeah, let's cover these mattresses up with blankets. We can take real good bumps on that. And then we found in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is like 25 miles, we found another wrestling group, backyard wrestling group, and they made a ring out of railroad ties, and it was like you could climb the ropes and jump off them and somewhat hit them. It was pretty awesome. And we were like, hell yeah, we're wrestlers. Still never trained. And then we were with that promotion, it was Fox Valley Wrestling Alliance. We were
I
with
like
them.
promotion. That works.
Yeah, we were with them for I think 3 summers, but by the second summer, our couple big shows a year or a summer would draw 250, 300 people in this backyard. Yeah. It was insane. We would grill out, and people would bring beer and just the coolers and all that. It was awesome.
What's the gimmick in Fox Valley?
I was hardcore wonder. I was a babyface at the beginning, and I would make my own kendo sticks out of dowels. I found I could go to the hardware store and buy 8 dowels and electrical tape them and make my own kendo stick.
Oh, not even masking tape so they split apart. Electrical tape so they really stay together.
You would electrical tape the bottom, and then you would put one strap around the middle, because I saw Tommy Dreamer. That's what his kendo sticks were, because even though I hated ECW. And then the top, I would put 3 strands. But if I didn't have a lot of allowance that week, I would have to get the very, very thin dowels that cracked on one hit. Otherwise, if I had a good bonus on allowance that week, I could get the thicker ones that I could get a little more use out of.
How many kids do you think in the around our age, and maybe even now, get allowance and they're just I'm pumping this all into a backyard wrestling? There's got to be hundreds.
Every week we would go. We would every Friday that I wasn't grounded, which wasn't very many. Dylan Postl got grounded a lot. But every Friday in the summer, we would get a bus pass, a city bus pass, and we would do Target, Walmart, and the hardware store. Target and Walmart for wrestling figures, and then the hardware store for cookie sheets and stuff for the show coming up in the next couple weeks. And that was literally every Friday. And then Saturday mornings, we would wake up, we would go to the family video then. We would rent a game, and then we would just, that whole day and that night, we'd have a sleepover with my buddies, and we would game and eat pizza, and just, it was a routine for years and years, middle into high school.
So what happens after? So what's the end of that promotion? What's the end of Fox Valley?
The end of me there was a local indie wrestling promoter came to one of the shows as a fan because he heard like these guys are doing 250 to 300 people. That's more than his company was doing. So almost like I don't know. It was kind of shady business. But he flyered our shows, and then like Vince, Vince did to AWA, he approached a few of us about training. And at that point, yeah, and at the indie level, and I was like, okay, I can train in a real ring for a real in front of like in a real company. Hell yeah, I'm going to. So me and my buddy Josh Binder and a couple other friends in the backyard, we started training at 17. But like training wasn't like the typical once a week or twice a week. It was once a month for an hour and a half or 2 hours before the show. We'd set up the ring, we'd train, then the show would happen. So that was our training. And like 45 minutes was cardio where the guys would make us run, around down. We would do running and then squats and this and hitting the ropes. It was blow up drills just to mess with us. But I said from day one, and I talk about it in the book, I never wanted to be trained as a midget wrestler. I hated the thought of the ref spot, the throwing back and forth, and the ass biting and this. I wanted to be trained as like a small cruiserweight. I loved Rey Mysterio. I loved X-Pac. I loved Jeff Hardy. That's what I wanted to do. Amazing Red was like my favorites in like 03 when I started training were Amazing Red and Jack Evans. I loved them.
Oh yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, crazy. They were so good. But then it was kind of off to the races and just working Wisconsin companies. I quickly realized the company that I was being used a lot for in Green Bay was actually ACW. And the company, the promoter loved having a midget on a poster because it looked good and it drew attention. I realized that pretty quick, but at 17, 18 years old, I didn't care. I was on a poster. I was on a wrestling show in front of real fans, like paying fans.
Are you still going by Hardcore Wonder, or are you? You switched over to Short Stack right now.
Immediately into Short Stack. Yep. And it was. I never had gear. I wore athletic pants and a do-rag because Jack Evans wore a do-rag, and I was like, I'm gonna be Jack Evans. That's me. And that was me. I never
that identity.
Gear. I literally never had gear until, the Leprechaun stuff, but then I never had actual gear until 3MB. I never owned wrestling gear.
Now there's a moniker that I came across.
Sexiest midget short stack.
Yes. So
that was given to me. That was like put on a poster for a Valentine's Day show. And I was like, this is really weird. Because I'm still essentially like, I'm not a child. I was 18, but this is very odd. It was even very weird for me.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's online.
That's how you know you've made it to the big time.
Peter Dinklage ain't saying that.
I also saw that there's a title, or there's NWA Wisconsin.
So NWA Wisconsin, for a while, their AWA and NWA were getting like independent companies. There would be an AWA Milwaukee or AWA Midwest, but there was like an NWA Midwest, and then there was NWA Chicago, NWA Minnesota, NWA Wisconsin, where essentially you could use that moniker, the NWA or the AWA, and you paid to get in. So it was ACW NWA Wisconsin, but I was the NWA Wisconsin X Division champion, which is pretty cool. Like. And again, do I think that I earned it by any means? No. But I was busting my ass and like being an actual wrestler and having pretty good matches against my buddy Nick Colucci. But I also realized it was them putting a title on a little person. which made them look really, really good, and it was kind of funny to them.
What do you
I didn't-
remember about that match, that championship match?
Not a lot. I mean, it was, man, this is where Dylan's memory. I just don't have it.
Because that's your first title, right? Aside from like your
Yeah, I
first
won
main.
I won like a couple backyard titles, I think. But that was definitely my first indie title. And it was really cool for me. Like, a bunch of my people from Target and Oshkosh came to the show. And so that was really, really neat. And like, I didn't even know that they were coming, but Weimer, my buddy Weimer, put it all together. And I had probably about a dozen people from Target after their shifts that night. They took off and they drove up to the show, which was pretty awesome. It was cool, man. Like, people say that titles, that doesn't, it's just another title. No, it's not. It does mean 9 times out of 10 that the company believes in you. And they did it for a reason. And it was awesome.
I was gonna say,
it was the shittiest looking. It was like a boxing belt they found on eBay that they put a big giant red and yellow X on. It looked like shit, but it was a title to me.
Title's a title.
Yeah.
Now, singles title, not your only title that I saw when I was doing research for this episode. Let's talk about SSW.
SSW was a company in Milwaukee, outside of Milwaukee. So they were a regular one for me, as well as Brew City Wrestling, still going, by Frank DeFalco, and Mid-American Wrestling by Carmine DeSpirito. Mid-American and Brew City, to go on a little tangent, they were like the other main ones that kind of took a chance on me, and really used me a lot. I was on almost all their shows from when I started till when I got hired. I didn't work a lot outside of Wisconsin. I think I did 2 shows in Michigan, maybe 2 in Minnesota, 6 or 8 in Illinois, and a couple in Indiana, but that was it. I never hit the highways and byways like some indie.
Well, that's coming later on.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely wasn't because of my world travels why I got hired later on. But going back, it was like Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, is actually the one that trained me a lot during my trainer was my main trainer, and then he would put his name out there for these other companies for me, Mid-American and Brew City, and I would but I was never like treated as the midget there. I was a wrestler.
That was going to be the next thing that I asked. So at what point, how do you know Ken Anderson? How did that, that whole relationship of him becoming your trainer and stuff like that? Like, how does that relationship come to be where, now you guys are just like the relationship that you guys have now?
Pretty instantly. I think he realized that I didn't want to be treated different, and he respected that. He realized that I wanted to learn and I wanted to wrestle. Binder and I, Binder Colucci, is the same person. We weren't going to let anything stop us from wrestling, ever. It just wasn't going to happen. My size wasn't going to get in the way. His build wasn't going to get in his way. We were there to do it, and to do it the best we possibly could. And I think he respected that, and he saw that I didn't want to just go along for the ride. Our relationship was pretty kind of off to the races pretty quickly, because we just got along well, and he respected me. If he took me for my money, or it was a cash grab for him for training, it would be one thing. He wouldn't have cared, but he put his name out there for me when many times, and especially later in my career.
Yeah. So let's go back to SSW now. So
SSW, was that a singles or a tag?
It says that you were the tag team champion with Devin Diamond from the Pretty Hot Thangs. Pretty hot with 2 T's and then THANGS.
So I remember that, but I definitely don't remember winning a title there. I don't remember. Yeah, no, I don't remember any of that. I remember wrestling for SSW a lot. So I liked SSW because they had a short ring. It was one of those rings that's like literally a foot off the ground, 12 to 16 inches off the ground.
Okay.
And for me, it was like, oh, I can finally get up in a ring without having to use stairs or a chair. Like that's what man, indie shows nowadays, if you run a company and you don't have ring steps, stop. Just stop and save your money until you can get ring steps or make a set of ring steps.
I was gonna say even at Creative Pro, I remember hearing the story when the first time that I was there that like Brian built those ring steps at Cap.
Yeah, I hate when there's no ring steps. I have to ask a fan for a chair, and then what's even worse is when the chairs in the venue are zip tied together, and now it's just a mess.
Oh.
It's just, man, it sucks. There's nothing worse than me getting a chair and going, oh, is this gonna hold me? Am I gonna step wrong? The fear of a chair breaking under me, A, because it might hurt, and B, it'll hurt my ego even worse, is the absolute worst.
I mean, it could take you out of a match real quick.
Yeah, I'm very fragile these days.
You land on that the wrong way. You're
the athlete he once was. He's a fragile son of a gun these days.
Damn.
But yeah, so SSW, they had the small ring, and again, it was just another show to get on. It really was, and it was just us wanting to wrestle. I wanted to wrestle so much. I didn't care if it was $20 or $100. I just wanted to wrestle.
Well, I think your career speaks for itself. You know, everything, the people that knew you and watched you before you were in the WWE, everything from that moment to now, I think it's pretty obvious that you were not only a fan of wrestling, but it wasn't just a paycheck for you.
And I think it was always also a proving people wrong thing. It was you said I couldn't do this. Well, I'm going to. Very simply, I'm going to. So I'm working indies. I'm working at Target full time, working independents on the weekends, taking off work for independent shows to make $20. Living with my girlfriend at the time and her mom because I'm an adult and I moved out of my parents' house because they wanted me to pay rent. And I was like, no, I'm not paying rent. I'm an adult. I shouldn't have to. I'm going to move in with my girlfriend and her mom because that's what all, adults should have as a mindset. So I was working, and then I got a call from an unknown number, and I was like, "Oh, this is a credit card company wanting their money. I'm not going to answer." And then I get another one, and another one, and then I get a voicemail, and it's "Hello, Dylan. This is Tommy Dreamer. We would like to pay you money and have you as an extra. Could you please get a hold of us?" And I was like, "This is a joke." Then finally, Ken calls me. And he goes, "Hey, they're trying to book you as an extra. Should probably answer their call."
Yeah.
Sweet. I call him back, and I get booked as an extra for a Raw show in Milwaukee. It was supposed to be like a random backstage with me, Snitsky, Goldust, and Candice Michelle. Some just weirdo, because Snitsky and Goldust were a team at the time, some weird backstage thing. And so we filmed that. It was awesome, to be there for I've never been at WWE ever at that point. Midgets don't get extra work. They don't get tryouts. But I heard that day that they were trying little people out to be with Finley. And I was like, man, I'm going to try it. So I walk up to Finley. That was a Monday. I walk up to him and say, "Hey, I heard you're trying out people to be with you." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Could you come tomorrow?" Because the next taping was in Green Bay for SmackDown. "Sure, I'll be there." I called into work sick. Went to SmackDown in Green Bay.
Your Target loved that.
Yeah. Had my tryout, or I did did some backstage interviews with Finley, like they did with all of them. Bombed them horribly because I cannot do an accent and I cannot talk in a wrestling setting. And I was like, man, it's never gonna happen. So I started breaking the cardinal rules of getting photos backstage with Kurt Angle and Paul London and Rey Mysterio. And finally, one of the security guards politely asked me to leave. And then I asked for one more photo, and he not so politely asked me to leave. And then I was like, man, you know what? At least I got a paycheck from WWE. That's all I'm gonna hear from them. And then it was like 2 weeks later, they called me again, unnamed number, restricted, and I ignore it, and I ignore it, and I ignore it, and it's Dreamer again. Hello, Dylan. We're trying to sign you to a contract. You should probably call us back. Otherwise, we're going to sign another little person. Immediately called back. And it was like, it was the same reaction. And this is a weird thing. The same reaction to getting hired is like the same reaction to getting fired from there. It's like, but it's the opposite mood.
It's the adrenaline rush of a big change happening, and sometimes it's for better, sometimes it's for worse.
It's the emotional, adrenaline. It's the emotional adrenaline rush.
Yeah,
100%.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like, this is the happiest moment of my life. Like, this is the craziest thing ever. That should have never happened. I remember hanging up the phone, and my girlfriend just got home from work. And I told her, and we called, like, the first person I called was my grandpa. And it was like the coolest call ever. And then I called my dad and a couple buddies. And it was, man, it was the best. But again, it was because Ken put his name out there for me. He knew I had a shitty interview, but he said, no, this is the guy. This is the guy you want to go with.
That's awesome.
So, I think one of the main things that like, I think I talked about it, maybe. I don't remember. Me, him, and Chris Benoit saw a Jackass movie all together. And I always forget if it was number 2 or 3, because I'm trying to figure timeline-wise. But it was either 2 or 3. I remember we went to the gym before. We went all to the movie together. Because it was our day off. It was a Monday, because we had a Sunday house show, Monday off, Tuesday SmackDown. The 3 of us were belly laughing the whole movie. It was a really, really fun day off. And then we went to Outback, which also is a big anger-filled Dylan Postl thing because of how little they fill candy bags.
Yeah.
I bought a bag of jelly beans the other day, and it's still in my cupboard, and I opened them on Twitch, and I got so mad. It's a third full. Same as, like, vitamin bottles of vitamins.
The tangent alarm is going off right now.
Why are you putting 3/4 of a bottle of cotton in a bottle of vitamins? Just fill the vitamins up. Stupid. It's so dumb. Fill up a goddamn bag of jelly beans.
Okay, so the any other fun?
I don't know of any other Ken ones. We always had a very, very good relationship. I can't think of a time we ever got into a spat or anything.
Any interesting stories from, like, the early days of working with him that you
No, not really. Not really indie level. He was on his way out, because he was, man, when I started, he was already looked at as, like, the big indie thing around here. People knew he was gone.
In your head, when you're training and you're on the indies, Dylan Postl, short stack, hardcore wonder. What do you picture in your head as, like, the look that you're trying? Because obviously it's well known Warrior's your favorite. Do you picture yourself as, like, that Warrior-esque kind of character?
No, I literally just always wanted to wear something comfy, athletic pants or shorts, and whatever cutoff t-shirt I could find.
How do you feel like that translates now into what you wrestle in now?
100% the same. I want to wear a cutoff t-shirt with a singlet underneath it to hold my belly in, and then comfy pants.
I was gonna say, because that singlet that you can see very clearly on your bendum, it's a good look. I mean, it works.
That look, Dylan Postl only wears on big shows or when he's feeling real good body wise. When he's not, it's the Kevin Owens singlet underneath with the t-shirt over it.
Hey,
all the time.
Rock it.
Back then it was my first backyard music was Hoobastank, Crawling in the Dark.
Okay.
And then I was big into hip hop. I was always a Nelly guy. I love Nelly. Still to this day, love Nelly. So then I went to On the Grind by Nelly.
Okay.
And then I went to, because everyone like thought it would be funny, I Wish by Skilo. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
perfectly. That fits absolutely perfectly. And yeah, that was it. If you've wrestled me or been in the ring with me, you know it's not easy. And it's not because I'm heavy. That is a reason. But also, it's like lifting a medicine ball compared to like a person or like a pillow, a long pillow. Um, it's way harder because it's lower and it's such a lower base and you're coming from so low to lift it. That was hard for me to get over. You know, taking a simple hip toss or a body slam, getting up for those. I was very, very light then compared to, especially compared to now. But even as light as I was, just giving any kind of momentum into it was hard for me because of my height. Other than that, nothing really. Like really nothing. I just wanted. I did all I could to prove that I wanted to be there and I wanted to wrestle. That was I just always had that mindset.
Were there ever points where you kind of got in your own head and like psyched yourself out about certain situations of things that you wouldn't want to do?
No, I would like, man. I would every match I would miss a swanton, and like now thinking of that hurts me, like big time. Like I was like, man, I loved doing it and I loved missing it every match. I would just miss a swanton off the top every match, and it was just fun. I would do like a 619 through the bottom and middle. And all that stuff. I would just do because I could, and I really enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed showing that I could do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because that's like what you said earlier. If people see your stature and your build and they think that you're just going to be that stereotypical kind of character, and it was important to you to showcase the fact that you can do more than that, and I think that that's awesome. So
For the picture for the for this, I'm going to find a picture of me as Hardcore Wonder and as early short stack days.
is it the picture that I sent you that you're going to post?
It is not the cornrow picture. Man, that cornrow picture
Ooh.
haunts me. I love it. I did them twice in my life, and they hurt. And I love the photo because it was just like it was a fun time for me. But it haunts me. I bet you at least once a month it gets sent to me by someone random.
Well, guys, that was it. That was the episode. I'm looking into the camera because George always tells me I can't look down. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. A lot of things in there I feel that people didn't know about my upbringing, about my life, about my starting into wrestling, about my background, just about me. A lot of yucks and tee-hees as well. George texted me today saying with the throwback episode that he listened to it for the first time and since we did it, and he was laughing, so I hope you guys laughed along as well. New listeners, it was a new listen. Way back when, this was day one-ish, listeners, you got a refill, a throwback refill, and I hope you all enjoyed it, because it was a lot of fun to do. Well, guys, here's my plugs. I'm going to do my plugs. SwoggleAuctions.com. I have a Whatnot next week. It is, if you're listening to this live, I have a Whatnot on March 13th. We have some huge items. I just found some more huge items that I didn't even know I had in storage. I have a Micro Brawler signed by Kevin Nash as Super Shredder. I have a Edge Heads signed by both Edge Heads and Edge. 3-pack. That'll be on Whatnot. I have stuff of mine. Figures of mine that'll be autographed. SwoggleAuction.com. Get yourself $10 free to use next Wednesday night. Also, ProWrestlingTees.com/Swoggle. There are brand new designs. Going Postl-ish designs. Stuff we talk about in the pod a lot. The Angry Otter. There's that one. Because we've never seen an Angry Otter until the t-shirt. There's the Going Postl Rookie of the Year award. That's on there because I still haven't gotten my plaque from PWI. There's a lot of also, and other really, really fun t-shirts on there. But this is enough
Big
about
Nick
me.
from Joyzy.
Big Nick from Joyzy's on there. But again, this is enough about me. George, what do you got for him?
Oh, well, I also want to remind everybody to follow Dylan on all forms of social media at Dylan Postl. Follow the podcast on all forms of social media at Going Postl Pod, youtube.com/Dylan Postl. If you're listening to the audio version, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast, you can also watch the video versions right on Dylan's YouTube channel, DylanPostl.com, for all things Dylan. It's got all of the links to all of the Dylan content that you could ever possibly want. And in addition to this wonderful podcast, I also host another podcast.
It's really fun.
I'm glad that Dylan enjoys it. It's called the Game Marks Podcast. It is myself and former Creative Pro champion Johnny Clash, and each and every week we do a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things wrestling video games. And we very much appreciate it if you gave us a listen. You can also follow along with us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And with that, Dylan, we skipped a major part.
We're leaving this in.
What's Johnny Clash's other name?
Carouse!
I can't.
Because I put the podcast over, so I wasn't listening because you didn't introduce it.
No, that's great. I love the fact that you put the pod over, and we're going to do a breakdown of the video game history of a specific person soon, and you will be joining us for that.
Ultimate Warrior.
Shh, you didn't hear that. But with that, Dylan, we're going to put a bow on this episode whenever you are ready, sir.
Why did people say that?
Because it's the last thing you do when you wrap a present, typically, is you put a bow on it.
Can we add that to the list?
Of hot takes or
bows? They piss me off. Zero use for them.
All right, I'll add it to the list.
Waste of money. Stop buying bows. Don't support the bow market. Do not. If there's someone in your life that makes bows, I apologize. Tell them to reevaluate. Get a job at a gas station. I'd appreciate them more. I hate bows. Bye.